Gonna be too loud. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurjaka Ashtoto the Shri Shrimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurjaka Ashtoto the Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavabinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantharaj Shimad-Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. And all glory to the unassembled devotees. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriet. Before reciting this Shimad-Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad-Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Shimad-Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 21st day of December, 2020 in SanDiego. We're reading from Shimad-Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. And we are in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 28. Puranjan becomes a woman in the next life. Text 39. Aste stanurivai katra divyam varshashatang stidaha vasudeve bhagavati nanyan vedod vahan vatim. Aste stanurivai katra divyam varshashatang stidaha vasudeve bhagavati nanyan vedod vahan vatim. Aste stanurivai katra divyam varshashatang stidaha vasudeve bhagavati nanyad vedod vahan ratim. Damodar. Aste stanurivai katra divyam varshashatang stidaha vasudeve bhagavati nanyad vedod vahan ratim. Aste stanurivai katra divyam varshashatam stidaha vasudeve bhagavati nanyad vedod vahan ratim. Aste stanurivai katra divyam varshashatam stidaha vasudeve bhagavati nanyad vedod vahan ratim. Aste stanurivai katra divyam varshashatang stidaha vasudeve bhagavati nanyad vedod vahan ratim. Aste remains, stanahu immovable, eva like, ekatra in one place, divyam of the demigods, varsha years, shatam 100, stidaha steady, vasudeve unto Lord Krishna, Bhagavati the Supreme Personality of Godhead, na not, anyat anything else, Veda did know, Udvahan possessing, Ratim attraction. Translation. So we still continue to describe King Malayadvaja in meditation. In this way he stayed immovable in one place for 100 years by the calculation of the demigods. After this time he developed pure devotional attraction for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and remained fixed in that position. Purport. You can repeat after me, hopefully. Bahonam janmanamante Ganavan prapadyate Vasudevak sarvamiti Samahatma sudurlabaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, says Krishna, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Bhagavad-Gita 7:19. Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is everything, and one who knows this is the greatest of all transcendentalists. It is stated in the Bhagavad-Gita that one realizes this after many, many births. This is also confirmed in this verse with the words Divyam Varsha Shatam, 100 years according to the calculations of the demigods. According to the calculations of the demigods, 1 day, 12 hours, is equal to 6 months on earth. That would mean that one full day, 24 hours, is equal to 1 year. 100 years of the demigods would equal 36,000 earth years. Thus King Malayadvaja executed austerities and penances for 36,000 years. After this time, he became fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. To live on earth for so many years, one has to take birth many times. This confirms the conclusion of Krishna. To come to the conclusion of Krishna consciousness and remain fixed in the realization that Krishna is everything, as well as render service unto Krishna, are characteristics of the perfectional stage. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:62, Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. When one comes to the conclusion that Krishna is everything by worshipping or by rendering devotional service unto Krishna, one actually becomes perfect in all respects. Not only must one come to the conclusion that Krishna is everything, but he must remain fixed in this realization. This is the highest perfection of life, and it is this perfection that King Malayadvaja attained at the end. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chakshu Unmiratam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, here's one of the innumerable amazing statements in the Shimad-Bhagavatam. In this way, he stayed immovable in one place for 36,000 years of our years, 36,000 years. Well, he must have been living in a previous age. It must have been Satya Yuga. He's staying on the earth. So, after this time, he developed pure devotional attraction for Krishna and remained fixed in that position. Now, Prabhupada immediately quotes the verse from the Bhagavad-Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, where Krishna says, after many, many births of cultivation, of yoga, of practice, one will come to the conclusion that I, Vasudeva, am everything. And this is very rare to achieve this state. Such a Mahatma is very rare. So, now just contemplate this for a minute. We're engaging in Krishna consciousness, trying to, and we're in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of the functions, or one of the things that the Yuga avatar does, is that he establishes a means of realization that's appropriate for the people of that age. That's what Yuga Dharma means. In the Satya Yuga, it was meditation. In the Treta Yuga, it was great sacrifices. In Dwapara Yuga, it's a very elaborate deity worship. And in this Kali Yuga, it's Harinam Sankirtan. It's Sankirtan, constant glorification of the Lord, together or alone. So, and the idea is that in each of those yugas, that process is effective for bringing one to the perfectional stage. So, sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say it may take many births to come to the perfectional stage, but he also said it's possible to come in one birth, or even in a few moments or a moment. If one follows the process that we've been given. What is that verse? We can all chant together. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gataranyata. So, in this age of Kali, there's 3 times, there's no other way, no other way, no other way but chanting the holy name, chanting the holy names, for what? To come to the perfectional stage and go back to Godhead. So here's King Malayadvaja, who is obviously a very exalted soul. It describes his kingdom, how he was a great king, and then how he retired, and of course his faithful wife, the reborn Puranjan, Vidarbhi, is following him and serving him. Now just imagine, what does this mean? He's sitting there, immobile, focusing his mind, and she's serving him, doing whatever it needs to keep him alive. I mean, it's hard to imagine exactly how that took place, and I'm not going to speculate. But there it is. This is the statement here in the Shimad-Bhagavatam. Now, one may say, yeah, well, okay, but this is all part of the allegory. But it's not being presented as allegorical right now. And we're going to have the Brahman appear in a few moments, a few verses, who is actually the super soul. to remind the reborn Puranjan in the form of Vaidarbhi that he's been with her the whole time. He's her old friend, and it's some wonderful purports here describing the fall of the jiva from the spirit soul, from the spiritual world. So that we're coming across a very significant, much quoted section of the Bhagavatam. But what first struck me about this whole verse and purport is how, and this is not alone in the Bhagavatam, there's so many descriptions like this, where a great king, like remember Prithu? We just been through, you weren't here, but we went through Prithu and his austerities, what he had to go through, even though he's, a Shaktivesh avatar. And so what we've been given, this process that Lord Chaitanya came to teach, Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya to teach, is just so perfectly tailored for the present age, for people of the present age. I mean, even to sit for like 15 minutes and to just be completely stationary and concentrate is extremely difficult. What is that verse? Right in the beginning of the Bhagavatam is, I think, the 10th verse of the whole Bhagavatam, first canto, where the sages at Naimisharanya are asking Sutta Goswami, and they're describing how disqualified the people of this age are. Prahinalpayasaksabhya kalavasmin yugejana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya yupadrata. And it's interesting. First he says prayena, for the most part. But you can see that it's hard to find someone who doesn't really fit into this category. For the most part, people don't live very long. And if they live very long, oh my God, you got to 100 years, they make the newspaper, like that. Of course, there are some yogis in the Himalayas living there, but basically, they just don't live that long as a comparison to previous ages. And if they do live long, they're not interested in spiritual life, by and large. It's rare to find someone, as anyone who tries to preach does, who's really into it. They may be a little curious, which is good, and that's the first step. But someone who's really serious about investigating is extremely rare. So therefore, the manda. Manda means lazy, disqualified, not much energy. And if they do have some interest, sumanda matayo, chances are they'll be misguided. Because there's so many rascals and cheaters and bogus yogis who are trying to monetize, trying to exploit people's interest. You find people who have some money, who are interested in something they don't know, and it's easy for them to cheat them, to sell bogus things. And we've seen that historically in America over the last 100 years, ever since 1895, that famous address by an unnamed sannyasi in Chicago. So it's a difficult age. So manda matayo, misguided. Manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagya. Therefore, they're unfortunate and always disturbed. I mean, that could be like the one of the central descriptions of everyone in this age. So many disturbances, mental disturbances. There's physical disturbances. Even you can't find pure food to eat, which disturbs your life airs. And from all directions now, through the media, has come to disturb the mind. Very difficult to practice any kind of meditation or concentration. So this is the nature of the age. So they asked Sutta Goswami to speak something that would summarize, give the essence of all the Vedic teachings that had gone before. This is just like Vyasadeva. We're going to describe how he wrote the Bhagavatam because everything that had written up to then wasn't completely satisfying and therefore wasn't adequate for the present age. So we're given this Bhagavatam, and on the basis of the Shimad-Bhagavatam, which is wholly and solely about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His devotional service, His devotees, His incarnations, and all the essence, the very nigamakalpatado galitam palam. Vijay, what does that mean? Bhagavatam is ripened. Oh, I'm sorry. Is anyone else want to give a shot? You know this one. We're going to nigamakalpatado. Anyway, it's verse number 3 in the Bhagavatam. So it's interesting. Just a little sidelight, as Maharaj would say. You have these two, extremely important and foundational verses for the Bible. Number 1, What's the subject? Janmarjasya yatanvayarita. Okay, links it up to the Vedanta Sutra, and that the absolute truth, the source of everything, is the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. That's the third word in the Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm sorry, fourth word. So we're talking about Vasudeva here. So then you have the next verse, which this defines what is, there's no cheating dharma here. In this Bhagavatam, it uproots the threefold miseries. It's understandable by the pure in heart. It's the final work of Vasudeva, literary work. Just by hearing the Bhagavatam, the Lord will be manifested in your heart. Wow, what more do you need? But then the third verse is what I would call a nectar verse about the nectar of the Bhagavatam. This Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the entire desire tree of the Vedic literature. Nigamas are the Vedas, the four Vedas, Puranas, everything he'd written before. Kalpataro, desire tree. And Nigama Kalpataro Galitam Palam. In the word-by-word meanings, sometimes you get into those word-by-word meanings, there's so much nectar in there. This fruit of the Bhagavatam is like semi-soft and easily swallowable. That's a Galitam Palam. Shukumakad, it's been touched by the lips of Shuka. A parrot will make it sweeter. Shukadeva Goswami. Amrita Drava Samhitam. It's like flowing like nectar. It's it's Pibata Bhagavatam. So it's an imperative. Drink it! Just like we say to this, we have this nice little motto now that they come up with: get it, live it, and give it. Right? Isn't that something that's part of the? I'm sorry. Yeah, I think maybe did Vaisheshika become? But there's a step missing there. I think I got to get it, learn it, live it, and give it. That was my thing. Learn it, live it, give it. Anyway, the point is that that can be applied to the Bhagavatam also. So he says, "Pibata Bhagavatam, drink the Bhagavatam." In other words, this is not a very austere. This is not the Vedanta Sutra, which is all all logic, and you really got to bring your brain to figure out what it's all about. It's not the Vedas with all the karma kanda you have to wade through and all this other. This is pure nectar. It's all about Krishna. It's all about your rasa. Rasa is juice with Krishna. So, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, drink the juice of the Bhagavatam, this semi-soft, easily swallowable fruit, eat it, Rasamalayam, up to the point of liberation and beyond, the Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, Muhuraho Rasika, again and again. That's why we have the class, again and again. Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvibhavaka, oh you Rasikas, become Rasikas. So that's a taste of what the Bhagavatam is really all about, is to bring us to the state of pure devotion, of tasting the mellows of bhakti. So back to our verse now. So we've been given that, and we've been given the means of becoming rasikas, of learning how to taste not only the Bhagavatam, but the holy name, and preaching, giving people Krishna consciousness, which is a sweet taste in and of itself. All of that is bypassing these 36,000 years of meditation. We don't have to do that. We've been given this invaluable, most valuable jewel of bhakti at the highest levels. What is this first? We can all chant this one together. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goda Tvishe Namaha. This is such an important verse. The Rupa Goswami's composed this verse when he first saw Lord Chaitanya and Ramkeli. I think they offered this verse when they met him. When he first saw him, he came to Bengal, stopped in Bengal. And Mahavadanyaya, most munificent. Munificent and magnanimous are not exactly equivalent, but munificent means one who gives charity. Mahavadanyaya, dana is charity. Mahavadanyaya. Why? What's the greatest gift? What's the next line? Krishna Prema Pradayate. He's giving out this jewel. It's not, it's way beyond liberation. What to speak of any material thing? It's the most valuable thing there could possibly be in existence. Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishna is Krishna himself. Krishna Chaitanya Namne, taking the name of Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goda Tvishe Namaha, with this golden complexion. So here we are, and having been given that gift by Prabhupada's great effort, undertaking that, that all those austerities, maintaining the movement, growing the movement, and those who've come after him. We heard yesterday about one of the amazing heroes of the Russian Yatra, Soviet Union, to appreciate the value of it and be able to, wanted to sacrifice so much just for the effort of getting the information out, spreading the knowledge that can, save people from millions of years of suffering. So, now Krishna says it takes many, many births. So, who knows how many births? Prabhupada sometimes said, yes, you all have some kind of bhakti in your background. Sometimes he said, I've made you good fortune. This may be the first time since a trillion births, after we fell from the spiritual world. It doesn't matter. The fact that we have shown interest, we're making an effort to be devotees, is we're the greatest fortune. We have the greatest good fortune, and we should give it out wholesale. So, what does he realize here? The essence of this verse, that everything is Vasudev. Everything is Vasudev. Mukunda, how is everything Vasudev? Everything Krishna. Yes, through his everything is either Krishna's energies or his expansions. Sometimes they say, we're Krishna's energy, the marginal potency, the Tatsta Shakti, and we're also in expansions of Krishna, because in one sense the energy is also an expansion. But expansion often refers to like Vishnu Tattva. So many different incarnations he has in order to manifest the universe. In order to maintain it, right? He expands the Purusha avatars for creation and Shirodaksha Vishnu maintenance. All of these are going on. Krishna is, in this way, Krishna is everything. And when you read these things and you learn the truths of the Bhagavad-Gita and other shastras we have, that's supposed to inform the way you see the world and the way you see yourself in it. This famous phrase, Shastra Chakshus. You've heard this one before, Larry. Shastra Chakshus means? Okay. Shastra means scripture. Chaksha means eyes. To see through the eyes of Shastra. In other words, before we knew anything about Krishna consciousness, say we never read Bhagavad-Gita. Well, you're just seeing through material eyes. In other words, you see, here's a friend, here's an enemy, here's a nice girl. Here's something good to eat. Let me read this and understand mundane knowledge. There's no spiritual element to it. It's all pervaded by the modes of nature. It's not helping you get out of material energy. It's keeping you bound in material energy. But when you come in contact with the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, and you read, I just heard Prabhupada give a lecture every morning. It says something pertinent to the class, whether I give it or someone else gives it. He's describing, he said, people are always showing, because he's encountering so many different kinds of people when he preaches. Can you show me God? Can you show me God? Have you seen God? Can you show me God? So Prabhupada immediately retorts in the class whenever he gives it. I'm probably, undoubtedly when he meets it, but do you have the eyes to see God? Are you qualified to see God? Suppose someone comes around, and they've been in a cave for the last 40 years, and they heard about atoms and molecules. Can you show me atoms and molecules? What is this so-called well, you don't have the eyes to see. Here, come to the microscope. You see, look through this microscope, you can see. So it's the same thing. By the process of purification, by bhakti yoga, which has austerity and purification of the senses, purification of the mind, one begins to see things differently, the world and himself differently. That verse which we just quoted yesterday, or previous, Atak Shri Krishna Namadi. Nabave grayam indriyai. This word grayam is similar to the word in English called grasp, which sometimes means to understand, isn't it? If now I can grasp what you're saying. It means I understand. So it's the same thing in Sanskrit. Grayam means to grasp. With our present senses, one cannot grasp or understand the name, form, qualities, etc. of Krishna. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi. Adi is a very important word. Adi is equivalent to etc. often. As we say, Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. So we're offering obeisances, we're glorifying Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, Panchatattva, etc., and all of their associates. It's wonderful to read, there's some chapters in the Yadi Leela describing all the associates in Navadvip, and I'm just reading Chaitanya Bhagavat. There's a nice list, just to get the names, and then you find out sometimes their pastimes. There's a whole family, there's a whole huge group who are servants of Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, and helping in the pastime. So similarly, we have the holy name, form, qualities, pastimes, etc. of Krishna. You can't perceive them. You can't understand them with their present conditioned senses and mind. But Atak Krishna Nabave Grayam Sevon Mukhe Ijivado. By serving the Lord with one's tongue, jiva, beginning with the tongue. Ado means in this case beginning with the tongue. Swayameva Spuratyada. They reveal themselves. See, this is the key point, is that we can't understand anything about Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Bhakti, anything, until and unless the Lord reveals it to us. Usually through the medium of the Shastra, through the medium of the spiritual master, the great souls. That's how you understand. Otherwise, Krishna reserves the right not to be understood. Naham prakasha sarvasa yogamaya samavita. People can't understand me. I cover myself by Maya. So they see a mythical figure, they see a human being, they see, a cow. Just like when you read the Krishna book, all these demons, they're covered by Maya, right? If they really thought that Krishna was God, all powerful, they're not going to attack him. They think because he looks like a little coward boy, right? So each one of them, they're destroyed because of their own ignorance. So by the process of devotional service, one purifies his senses and mind, and gradually comes to understand more and more about the holy name, form, qualities of Krishna. Even in our neophyte state, to chant japa for any length of time, to be in a kirtan with appreciation, even if it's a little unsteady, but there's some appreciation there. It's so rare. It's so unbelievable. We've all been on Harinam Sankirtan. Sometimes you're on a city street that hundreds or even thousands of people are going by. And of course they're hearing it. We're forcing them to hear. Prabhupada said we have to go bother them. In the early days, people got arrested in Australia, and not so much in the United States because you got the first, the amendments, the Bill of Rights, freedom of religion and speech. But what do people really get from it? What are they thinking? They're hearing, which is all auspicious. But the understanding, their senses are covered by the modes of nature, so they're not understanding, they're not appreciating it all. But devotees, oh yeah, that was a nice Harinam. Now, for years now they've had these Harinam melas, where the whole day. I went on a few of the japa retreats back in the early aughts, and I was thinking, the first time I was thinking, this is great. It reminded me of the old days, when I first joined, where there was Mangalartik and there was a morning program. And then we did a little service. I had my menial service filling the oils for the incense oils and things for the little business he had. And then in the afternoon, it was like 3 hours of Harinam. You come back, take a shower, get ready for evening artik. Kiba Jaya, Jaya Gora Chandra. A lot of kirtan, the devotees dancing. There's Lord Chaitanya, nice class, Then downstairs for milk and hear Krishna book. Take a rest. Up next day. So it was like full immersion, and you can feel the purification happening. So that's what Lord Chaitanya has given us, what Srila Prabhupada has given us. He's given us the knowledge, which if we have a little faith. Now Prabhupada talks about that. He quotes the second line of the verse in which Lord Chaitanya defines what faith is. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kore Sudada Nishchoy Krishna Bhakti Kore Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. What is real Shraddha? Shraddha is to be where your heart is, where your faith is an inevitable concomitant of living in the material world. That's why there's a whole chapter 17 in the Bhagavad-Gita. those who aren't transcendentalists, where's their faith lie? And then you have this whole modes of nature faith, and you have faith that if I can just go get a hamburger, I'll be fine. Don't bother me with the books. Faith. They have faith. They've done it before. It should happen again. So there's all kinds of faith by the modes of nature, and they all yield their different elements. But this faith is Krishna Bhakti Korli Savakarmurtahoy, is full conviction. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudadana's joy. Vishwas is conviction, firm determination. Nobody can waver you, can convince you that is not true. That what? Simply by Krishna Bhakti, all my activities will be successful. In other words, I don't have to worry about anything else. If I just do the surrender and follow the principles of devotional service, all my aspirations for happiness and peace and success and going back to Godhead will be fulfilled. That's real faith. So that Prabhupada said this is what it means to think that Krishna is everything. Not just everything that we see and hear and feel and taste, but our everything. Krishna is our everything. He's the one who we're directing our activities toward. We're trying to please Him. We have faith that He'll protect, that He'll maintain. This is part of surrender. That's what real pure faith is. And that nishta, which is like the fourth stage in the verses by Rupa Goswami, from faith to love, begins with Shraddha and ends with Prema. From Shraddha to Prema. It's a very important couple of verses. It's quoted in the purport in the Sanskrit is quoted in the Bhagavad-Gita. I don't forget which purport. But it's good to know these. It begins with Shraddha, and Prabhupada said this Shraddha is not the one that he just described. This is a different Shraddha. This is preliminary interest, respect, enough to bring you into the association of devotees. Just like the Sunday feast. The whole idea, attract them with a nice prasadam and stay high forever. Somehow get them into the storefront, get them into the temple, where at least they're curious. Doesn't matter if they're in the back of the room with their hands, watching the kirtan. They're in the kirtan. It's having its effect. And among those people who come and never come back, there's a few who come again. And these are those who are, going from the stage of a little interest, respect, curiosity, to the stage of maybe practicing a little bhajan, because associating with devotees, that's the next stage. Adar Shraddha Tatak Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha. This satsanga is essential. Because in that satsanga, you hear and you get purified to the point of wanting to practice. Of course, just coming for kirtan, that's great. But to come to the point of serious japa, every day, or I'll do 2 rounds a day, that's real advancement. So he's going on, and bhajana kriya. Now that, someone can dibble-dabble for a lifetime, for years and years, then suddenly get serious. We've seen that. But if it goes, then you get this little serious. You're reading, meanwhile. You're associating with devotees. You're associating with Prabhupada. As soon as you open his books, don't forget that. That's very important. That's the most important satsanga we have, sadhu sangha. And you become more and more convinced. Your faith is increasing. This looks like what I've been looking for my whole life. Yes, Prabhu, come here. Let me show you how to chant japa. You can take a vow. You'll chant 4 rounds a day. Okay. So gradually you come to that point, and then with all that bhajan and association, you become interested to become initiated. How important that is. That's part of the bhajana kriya. And while that's going on, the stage is happening, anartha nivritti. We have all these anarthas in our heart from lifetimes and lifetimes of bad association. And they have to be cleansed for us to really perceive Krishna there, to see through the eyes of Shastra, to appreciate devotional service. In other words, to become Krishna conscious. So those anarthas are being purified, nivritti, negation of anarthas, by bhajan, by association, and especially initiation, which increases your commitment tremendously. And then when the anarthas are gone to some extent, nashta prayeshu abhadreshu, there's the one I always chant in the morning before class. Prayeshu, again, is the same word, means almost gone. Then you come to the nishta. And that nishta is this shraddha. Is your firm conviction, cannot be shattered, cannot be deviated, that Krishna is everything, that I am His eternal servant, that the process of bhakti, as I've been given it and I've been taught, is the process for me to achieve perfection. And that sarva karma kutahoy, all of my karma, all of my activities will be fulfilled if I just follow this process. And then, they're not mutually exclusive. Ruchi is going on. Ruchi, the taste. Taste is a universal thing, because we're living entities. We're originally part and parcel of Krishna, who is an Anandamaya Vyasat, who's full of Ananda. He's engaging in all kinds of rasa. Rasa Vaisa. It says that he made a rasa. He lives for rasa. That's why he expands as unlimited living entities. It's taking a chance that they're not all going to surrender or stay surrendered. But then, the vast majority are engaging in all kinds of loving relationships. This is Krishna's internal. This is what he wants to do. Managing the material world, okay, expand. Let that, let the expansions manage it. And he'll come every so often to try to, reclaim the souls who are lost. So that's us. So ruchi. Now we have so much ruchi in a conditioned state. You're born. You have one ruchi basically, and mother's milk. That's life force. Okay, and not only mother's milk, but the mother's love. You're living on that. Kids who are isolated from the parents, they're damaged for life. So that's basic ruchi, and that's a universal principle for the living entity, because it's part of. We're part and parcel of Krishna, who's enjoying all these relationships in rasa. So, how to purify our ruchi, to get the taste, right? Vishayavane vartante. That's those who know it can chant it. Vishayavane vartante niraharas dehinaha rasavajam masopyasya padam drishva nivartate. We have to have a systematic cultivation of Bhagavad-Gita shlokas here. So this is such an important verse. I remember reading the Bhagavad-Gita. It's right in the 2nd chapter, text 59, and it's something that even after say a week or two, like living in the temple or just practicing Krishna consciousness, you can say, you get realization of this verse. So what it says is that Vishayava nivartante, that by force you can give up objects of the senses. Vishayas means object of the senses. It's not an accident that is practically the same word as visha, which means poison. So the sense gratification is poison, and I'm going to give it up, And most people are doing it all the time. They're giving up rich food, trying to get rid of all this extra weight. I got to give up the alcohol, give up the cigarettes, all this thing. So at one point, they thought there was some taste there, and they got hooked, right? Now it's like, it's imprisoning you. So he said, Vishayavane vartante nirahara. If you don't consume them, ahara isn't consumed, then they'll fall away. You'll be able to do it. But the taste will remain. And if you come into the wrong association, suddenly you won't be able to, you're back, that's the problem. But, padam drishyana vartate, if you get taste for Krishna by directly perception, by chanting the holy name and associating with devotees, seeing the deities, preaching, all the things we do, then you can be permanently free of the desire. Rasopyasa, even the rasa is the taste in this case, it's like ruchi, it goes away. And that's the real basis of true vairagya. We have to cultivate that vairagya, but not artificially. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, your vairagya develops. That's right in the Bhagavatam 2nd chapter. So, and coming to the conclusion, now we can come to it theoretically that Krishna is everything. We know this is all his energy, right? Bhuma, Apa, Anano, Vaya, earth, water, fire, ether. We know that we're part of his energy. Well, there's nothing in existence except Krishna and his energies. That we know, Gyan. But we haven't realized it so much. We realize it by actually acting that way. If this is all Krishna's energy, we are also Krishna's. These are Krishna's senses. Then they should be used in Krishna's service. Now that's, against our conditioning, so it's a little bit austere to do that. But if we make the effort, based on our knowledge now, we're getting it from the Shastra and from the Guru and the Sadhus, then the senses become purified, and we can actually see. You go out, okay, you're not in the temple anymore. The whole temple is the idea is you're reminded that everything is Krishna. Because it all, but outside, you have to bring with you the knowledge that you cultivate. So, okay, these people are all God brothers, God sisters, God siblings. Let's call them God siblings, and they're suffering like anything, and they're acting in such a way to increase their suffering 1,000,000-fold. So it's just like you see some child, about to walk into the street. Any human being would try to stop them. Would try to, hey, watch out. You know what I mean? So we're watching people as they're walking off a cliff into the hellish punishments. We can read about it in the 5th canto. It's not alien to it. It's going on right out there. So here we are. We have the medicine. We have the antidote to their disease of ignorance, which is causing so much suffering and will cause so much suffering. So naturally, we should try to give it out to them. We should appreciate ourselves. The more we appreciate ourselves, that's why reading is so important. You read the books you're going to distribute and say, well, this is great stuff. This is so essential money. Let me try to give it to someone. And appreciate it that way. So that's, the more that we experience Krishna consciousness and the wonder of this knowledge that's been given to us, the more we'll see the urgency for giving it, transmitting it, and through book distribution, especially now. And so that will in turn please Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, the whole parampara so much, you'll get more taste. That's how it works. Is by undergoing the austerities and practice Krishna consciousness, even you'll find that you're becoming purified and you have more taste for everything. Tulsi worship, chanting your rounds, the deities, more beautiful. I like to tell this story. Some of you haven't heard this before. When I was in Miami, you remember Dharma? He's still there, right? He's been there for 50 years. Huh? Holding the fort. So it's a very wonderful devotee. And he told this story once. I think he gave class. He wasn't, anyway, he told this story. How he, early on in Miami Yatra, he was tasked with making a certain number of milk sweets every night for the deities for the next morning. So one day, one or two of the other devotees couldn't do it. So he had to make all the milk sweets. It's a big jugya. So it practically took him the whole night, and they have to be offered at 3:30, 4 o'clock, before the Mangalarti. So he just finished in time for the offering to be made. And he took the offering on, he's trying to stay awake, So he's bringing on we had something called para, which we don't have anymore, and the sandesh and burfi and all the different things. You can imagine making all those for one thing. Anyway, so he's walking on there, and suddenly he's startled to look. He saw the deities, the Radha Krishna deities there. How now they're smiling at him was like obviously much greater than he'd ever experienced. The smile was just, like somebody was really smiling at him. And he just, of course, continued with the offering. And he told the story that, this is the reciprocation. This is the result of my, this extra austerity. And it's not uncommon for devotees to see the deities in a different way after a special austerity that they do in preaching or service, whatever it may be, So what to speak of, the more subtle thing, which is your taste and appreciation for hearing and chanting, for the holy name, for devotee association, wanting to go to the Dham. Everything related to Krishna suddenly becomes that much more sweet to you. That's the gift from within the heart Krishna has given you. That's the most important gift. Because that ruchi, now to finish our explanation of this ladder, so what's happening now when you get purified and you're determined and you see Krishna as everything, and that there's nobody can shake your faith anymore, So your ruchi is increasing, and that turns into asakti, which is direct affection for Krishna, attraction to Krishna. Maya sakta manaparta, beginning of the 7th chapter, Krishna is saying, now I'm going to tell you how your mind can naturally be attracted to me. The 6th chapter was all this artificial stuff, pranayama, and Arjuna rejected it and said, okay, don't worry about it. Yoginam abhisarvesham. You're always thinking of me, you're the best yogi. But now, for everyone else, I'm going to describe how your mind can be attached without the Ashtanga Yoga. And he starts describing in the 7th chapter exactly what we're talking about, how you can see Krishna in everything. I was just hearing Prabhupada, he would say, Vasoham apsakonteya pabasmi shashishuryayo. Prabhupada was focusing on the second line. That the light of the sun and the moon, when do we not see the light of the sun and the moon? So I am that. So as soon as you see the sun, you think, oh, that's Krishna. As soon as you see the ocean, that's in the 10th chapter, that's Krishna. anything powerful, anything magnificent, anything that impresses you. So this is the way you can train the mind to always see Krishna, and always understand that everything is Vasudeva. So that develops into attraction for Krishna, which develops things like stirring a pot of sugar water that's gradually becoming thicker into syrup, and then into like lozenges and sugar candy. The attraction becomes bhava. Asakti, the next one is bhava, the ecstatic, beginning with ecstatic love, and finally prema, which itself has varieties. So that's, and it's not that your service stops then. Okay, now I got prema, now I just sit. No, that means that all of your activities become saturated with the highest love and enthusiasm. And we saw that with Srila Prabhupada. It was because he was at the highest levels of prema bhakti, for love for Krishna, for Lord Chaitanya, for a spiritual master, that he was willing to undertake all of those austerities. Because he knew he's not going to lose the prema. That's going to go on, and he'll be satisfying his spiritual master. That's what the highest levels of bhakti are. That when you talk about the gopis, their absolute determination, passion, obsession for pleasing Krishna. This is why they went out, in the middle of the night to please him, because he called them with his flute. He said, "Oh, Krishna wants us to come out." Now, at the same time, they also it's in the mode. It seems like passion, like ordinary passion, but it's not the same thing. There's a great distinction. You read chapter 4, Adi Lila, it's all in there. The difference between prema and kama. What is that? Atmendriya piti bancha dare bali kam. Krishnendrita piti icha dare prem nam. Very key verse. The desire to satisfy one's own senses, that's kama. The desire to satisfy Krishna's senses, that's prema. So how to move from kama to prema? Prabhupada explained, the kama is simply prema that's been adulterated by the modes of nature. We're trying to be Krishna, which is a big mistake. So the process of Krishna consciousness turns that kama back into prema by a systematic engagement of the senses, mind, intelligence, money, everything we have in Krishna's service. So this is what we've been given, and this is the great gift. And all I can say is, learn it, live it, and give it. That's my little motto. Oh my God, I went over time. Any comments or questions? Yes, Prabhu.
I know it's late, but I was a couple of things weren't so clear to me. I was trying to figure them out. One is that in the verse it's saying that Malayadvaja is fixed in this way for 100 years. That's 100 years according to the demigods in the verse. And then the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that calculates out to 36,000 years on the earth. And then he starts the purport by referring to Bahunam Janmanamante, but then it seems that he's saying that it seems that the reason he's referring to that is he's saying that this is an example of Bahunam Janmanamante, because he says that to live for 36,000 years, that means that's many lifetimes. He's saying in order to live for 36,000 years, he has to take birth many times. And this confirms the conclusion of Krishna that only after many births can you become fixed in Krishna. But then it also could seem that and as you mentioned, you said that it also could seem that he was living in a different yuga, Satya Yuga.
Yeah.
But then here it seems that maybe...
I noticed that also, that there seemed to be a little confusion there. Or we're confused. But I think that what Prabhupada is kind of expanding the meaning here is that, okay, it's taking him many, many, many years. Whether you take many births or not, doesn't really matter if you're actually cultivating. Because what Krishna says is, Jnanavan mam prapadyate. And the previous verses talk about cultivating knowledge. In other words, it's understood that during all those births, you're cultivating your knowledge, and then when you really have the knowledge, you surrender to Krishna, understanding that he's everything. So Malayadvaja didn't take different births, but he's still cultivating the knowledge. He's cultivating the consciousness, and it's taking him, 36,000 years. In one sense, Prabhupada would often say, well, you don't know what you did in a previous life or lives to bring you to this point. So we may also be at the end of all those Bahunam Janmanams, and I like to point to the 11th canto, the glorification of this Kali Yuga. Because Kali Yuga, I quoted the verse at the beginning of Bhagavatam, how disqualifying it is. You don't live very long, you're always disturbed, so it's not a good age for yoga. But this particular Kali Yuga is very fortunate because Krishna appeared and Lord Chaitanya appeared. And I just read yesterday that, yes, it's confirmed. Whenever Krishna appears, Lord Chaitanya appears in the next Kali Yuga. He appears as Lord Chaitanya in the next Kali Yuga. So, who knows, how many births we actually spent cultivating this. I mean, it's hard to believe. I mean, I was like a total atheist. I was as far away from Krishna consciousness as you could possibly get, in my early life, and many of us can say similar things. But the background is completely invisible. How Krishna arranged for your material endeavors to fail, and if you go through some trauma where you need some, relief, and you heard about yoga, and that takes you around the yoga circles, and that brings you to, So, Krishna's, he's moving us. And it's certainly, all I can say is, whether it's, this is our first birth, and we're very fortunate because we met devotees, and Prabhupada, says, yes, I've made you good fortune. Or unlimited births, thousands of Bahunam Janmanam births. We've come. We're now, in contact with the Yuga Dharma, which works, and we have the greatest opportunity, and we shouldn't waste it. This is another thing Prabhupada would often quote. This verse from 5th chapter, 1st canto, Narada Muni, teaching Vyasadeva. Tasyaiva heto payateta kovido nalabhite ya brahmatama paryada talabhite dukkha vadanyakaksa kadena sarvata gabhira rangasa. That tasyaiva heto, it comes after the verse chakvasva dharmam. These two verses go together. It says, look, suppose someone follows his swadharma very nicely and he's successful in his material activities. What does he really gain if there's no bhakti there? There's no bhajan. But suppose someone gives up his swadharma, joins the Hare Krishnas, and spends months, a few years, whatever, and then doesn't complete the course. Where is there any loss? Nehaba Karanashosji, there's never loss or diminution. And therefore, one should strive, this word yati, tasyaiva heto prayateta. Prayateta means strive with great seriousness. This word prefix always intensifies. Prayateta kovido, someone's intelligent. Strive for what? For what you can't get going up and down the universe. Something which is transcendental, the Krishna. Nalabhyate yat brahmatama paryada, wandering up and down the universe, you're not going to get it. And talabhyate dukkha vadanyatak sukham, as far as your happiness and distress, they're already programmed in. It's already programmed in for this lifetime. You can't increase the happiness, you can't decrease the distress. So don't worry about those. There's no point. Strive, prayate, really strive for what you can't get in material. In other words, for Krishna. Nalabhyate kalena sarvata, because that's going to be playing out according to time and your karma. So this is really the message that even without understanding these verses, we're in the middle of doing that. We're not striving for material things, we're not name and fame. And, I look back on my life and say, God, I'm so thankful that I didn't strive for it. Because in my little time of striving for that, it just was a lot of pain and suffering and didn't really make me happy. But to realize that is even on a material platform, and therefore put you in the mood of searching, is in itself a great valuable thing. Rather than to be caught up, in a career where I got to make this and then compete with this person, and then what to speak of the family. You get entangled with that, and the children. Okay, I've got to be responsible. So that's anyway. Neither here nor there. It's here, and so this Bahunam Jamanamante, Prabhupada is taken because Bahunam years, many years. And maybe many lifetimes, many years in one lifetime, but somehow or other to come to the point of seeing or wanting to see Krishna everywhere and practicing is the greatest valuable thing in any lifetime. And the idea is we should cash in our chips. Now that we've got the lottery ticket, we won the lottery, now you have to actually cash it by practicing, by going as far as we possibly can in this lifetime. And that means getting serious. All right, I've gone on too long. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. Oh, Krishna.
That word prayate is kind of like you're prying something open to strive for it.